Hey everybody, Quantum here, and as expected, we did see quite a few big tournaments happening over the course of the April 12th and 13th weekend. Why this is significant, for those of you that don't know, or if you're watching this further removed from this date, it is the first big weekend that we had since the first historic initial bans in Disney Lorcana for Hero and Flavors from Toymaker and Photosphere. Let's go ahead and jump right in. This is probably going to be a two-part video because there's so many tournaments that we would want to review, but the big one is going to be the BattleBear. These guys always have a great turnout. Let's go ahead and jump in and see what decks were making work or doing work in this event. So we've got a good showing. We've got all the top 8 decks, or we're missing one top 8 deck. We got some of the top 16, but we do have the top 4 here. And Dinka Fam winning the event with Ruby Sapphire, showing that even with the Hiram ban, this deck or this ink pairing is still viable. No surprise since it's his patented Maui Shark McDuck Manor build. But it looks like Hirams were just replaced with All Is Found. Some other adaptations, only one Super Goof instead of, I think he was playing more last set. But obviously, All Is Found is a new card from the new set. Him winning this event with this card will single-handedly make this card go up in price, right? And it has an Enchanted 2, I believe. Only 2 of the Tamatoa, not putting too much value on recurring Popsicles now because, again, you're not looking for the Hiram draw. You're banking everything, it looks like, on the Maui Shark into all of these interactions, right? You play 17 songs, 12 actions, almost, well, 29, but almost 30 non-characters, only 23 characters, right? Half of your deck is actions and or songs in order to be brought back with the Maui Half Shark, right? For those of you that don't know, more or less the strategy is basically put down the Maui Shark early, right? With the ramp you get from Sail and or Tipo. Throw down a McDuck Manor. The All Is Found is nice because it enables you to be prepared, follow up with a location or follow up with another interaction potentially. Just ramping you even further. But why it's really good is like you put the Maui Shark on board, you demand your opponent have an answer. If not, you're gonna continue to gain passive lore off of playing actions, right? With this thing gaining you passive lore, and if you put down a location, your opponent has to deal with this probably through challenging. And then it's like, well, if I turn my stuff sideways to deal with the location, now I'm vulnerable to the Maui Shark getting extra value. So how do I combat this, multi-angled attack from this deck? Without the Hiram, you could argue that the deck is more balanced because now it doesn't also have a way to generate card advantage. Once you kind of run this deck out of gas, how do they continually fuel up their hand for interaction? Another interesting note is going to be for Sisu Empowered Sibling. This card is just a decent card overall for the fact that it's a 3-quester and has a pretty strong ability of wiping out the aggro decks that are coming up more in the meta as well. Obviously, you don't play Coil or anything to reduce strength like you have previously prior to the Hiram ban with like Coils and stuff like that. So you're just, whatever already has 2 strength or less, you're taking it out with the Sisu. If something has 3 strength, you're not reducing it down. It's going to survive the Sisu interaction. But just more removal makes sense here, right? Especially with Chernadog and stuff like that coming up in the meta a little bit. These decks who like to maybe keep their things readied up. Now you don't only have to worry about Be Prepared, which is played at 4, but also the Sisu Empowered Sibling. So really, good deck still. Dinka Fam showing that. And I'm sure my explanation here doesn't do it justice because I know Dinka Fam has a Metafy that he's advertised before on this deck where he probably goes into much more detail and matchup specific things around it. Ruby Amethyst coming in 2nd and 3rd. And again, if you watch my initial meta review reaction video, which I think I posted first for the members of the channel, I said, I think this is a meta where Ruby Amethyst could potentially come back. I would be happy to see it come back. And looking at some of the top tables online, you definitely see Ruby Amethyst making necessary adaptations to beat the Emerald decks, which you can see here. One made top 4, one made top 8 in Emerald Steel. No Emerald Amethyst. They made the top 16, but ended up losing out. And we'll take a look at maybe some of the reasons why in just a moment. But we're seeing Frying Pen. Okay, interesting deck name. But we've talked about Peter Pan Shadow before. This player opting not to use Iagos, instead using Moana. And again, all you have to do is just filter for anything that has evasive in the Ruby Amethyst or anything you're pairing with Amethyst ink pairing. I mean, it's really only Ruby and Amethyst that have Rush anyways. But you'll just see all the evasive. I guess no. What am I saying? Emerald has evasive too. But you'll see all the characters that have evasive, and whatever you pair with Amethyst, whatever you use with that Peter Pan Shadow, you can say, well, all these cards that have evasive now get Rush. Moana is very interesting for the simple fact that she's one of the rare characters that has more strength with evasive than she does like willpower. She's not necessarily understated for the 4 cost, and she has a nice ability, right? Whenever this character challenges another character, chosen characters of yours gets +3 strength this turn. Who needs crabs? I've got Moana. You have Peter Pan Shadow on 3, you drop this Moana on 4. It's a 4/3. Guess what that means? It takes out Diablo and it takes out genies, with still surviving that interaction as long as those cards are not on Hidden Cove, giving them +1/+1 on strength and willpower. So very nice innovation there. And you're seeing it basically go to a shark build, right? You only have a total of 12 interactions to bring back with the shark, but Peter Pan plus the shark means the shark gets rushed when it comes into play. So if there's a Peter Pan Shadow, and again, I talked about this in my big Amethyst video, I think it was like 50 minutes long, where I said, just the fact of Peter Pan Shadow having a presence on the board state, now you instantly have to be like, do they have a Niago? Do they have a Genie? Do they have a Moana? Do they have a shark that they're going to drop? Because whatever they drop there with evasive, it's going to have rush thanks to this Peter Pan. So maybe I don't turn my stuff sideways to give them value. This shark coming in, instantly getting back a Be Prepared, a Friends, a Finders Keepers, a Brawl could be pretty significant and swing the matchup in your favor, right? We know how important this tempo advantage can be. And, you're just getting the extra value here. 4 libraries as well, only 10 1-drops, still on the snakes and the foxes. Only 2 crabs because, again, I can maybe proc strength boosts with my Moana, right? Boost up my Genie. You're on 3 of the big Sisu as well as 3 Be Prepared and 4 of the Sisu Emboldened Warrior. This card should be going up in price again. It is a very good option right now. The 4 strength matters quite a bit, and then 4 else's as well for the tap down. Just a very well-rounded deck in my opinion. I like this build a lot. I always, I think a lot of people were kind of tinkering about with like Maui Shark, Ruby Amethyst builds, but like it just seemed maybe like too slow given how fast the meta was in the Sapphire meta. Maybe now is the time for it to shine. Maybe not. Like it looks pretty good to me, but more testing over the weeks to come will definitely see how effective the deck can be. But it did lose out to Dinka Fam. Some of that might be, the player, obviously DKP, very good with this deck, kind of the, innovator of the deck. So it's no surprise. Maybe from the same clan or team, it looks like MC Rise. Is he running the same kind of deck? No, they are running an aggro deck. Ruby Amethyst aggro? I thought I saw aggro. Maybe I was looking at something else. For Lumiere, giving that Peter Pan, making it a 3/3, sorry. And guys, in my list, if you watch my video, I said I was running Madam Mim because it's a is it a 1/3 or 0/3? Jeez, I played the card before. I can't even remember what it is. But either one, because it gives the challenger +1 to all your characters. Well, Lumiere is technically better because it just gives +1 instead of challenger +1, which means your Peter Pan is instantly not brawlable anymore, right? In like the Ruby Amethyst mirror match, whereas with the Madam Mim that I was playing in mine, another 2-drop but a X and 3 stat line means that it only gives the +1 on challenge, meaning that your Peter Pan would still be susceptible to brawl, for example. The difference is, Lumiere gets blown out by Let the Storm Rage on. So if you were fearing Storm Rage, if your local meta is heavy with steel, you would opt for Madam Mim. If not, you may opt for a build like this where Lumiere, giving the +1 straight up, might be better, right? Because it gives +1 to Genie, to Elsa, to Maui Shark, to Peter Pan, etc. And the build looks pretty similar, right? Instead of Finders Keepers and stuff like that, we're on Pirate's Life. Everybody's on Bell. Again, the library, sorry, a gift for Bell. Again, I've talked about this before, right? These 1-drops, no Diablos, which is fair, fine. Going for a more higher end package, which is again just fine. But with the library, so good. Also opting for rabbits and genies. The uninkable count here is 16, so a little high. Only 1 big Sisu, not 3. Again, 4 Peter Pan Shadow. I know I picked up my extra copies while they're like super cheap. This card probably should be going up in price because a lot of the Amethyst decks are going to be playing this card. If not for the fact that it takes out the Diablos and stuff like that, but just for the fact that it gives stuff like Maui and, as you saw, the Moana, etc. rush, which is really, really interesting. So pretty cool to see. Emerald Steel Clarabelle, not necessarily discard, but I mean, I do see a Lucifer right away here and Sudden Chill. But I talked about this in in the comment section with a member who asked about, could a mid-range version of Emerald Steel become a thing? And I was like, I think that it could become a thing. It's just that the discard version of Emerald Steel is so far and away above every other variation that you could play that as long as the discard is around, everyone's going to opt to play it. But you can see in a list like this, like one drop Clarabelle isn't really doing much anymore because literally, what items have you seen aside from DKP's popsicles? There are no items in the meta anymore, it seems like, right? So, kind of hurting for another one drop Emerald Steel. What other one drop might you want to play that's actually relevant? Obviously, we know Diablo for the shift line, but this Clarabelle for the shift Clarabelle is also good. We are playing 4 morphs. And again, I talked about this on the release of Morph, guys, right? I mean, what I'm saying is coming true, right? I'm like, Morph is a card that just gets better with time. Um, yeah, it's weak, but just having the ability to shift anything, and if your opponent knows, like, holy crap, like, I can't afford to have this Morph survive, they're going to extend themselves to out this card. But you can see the versatility that a card like this has. No Beast Tragic Hero in this list, but, like, Ariel, I've talked about this card as well in this deck and in Amber Steel Song. Super strong card right now, I think. Only one, but that's fine. No Ursula, Deceiver of All. No, not looking to double sync Storm or Strength. Let me just make sure that I'm not overlooking anything. No, we're not. Only 2 Mr. Smee, but 4 Ursula Deceiver, 4 Pete's, 3 Prince Johns, 4 Muses, 1 Lucifer. Bouncing back the Lucifer with the Muses. That's all the discard engine you need, really. But of course, you have to see the one of. 3 Pete, Space Pirate. We've talked about this card as well, being super powerful. 4 Tinkerbell, the only shift target being the Morph. And then 3 of the big Clarabelle, which is really weird, right? Because you're discarding the opponent's hand. Why are you playing big Clarabelle? Well, you can see how powerful the draw engines of Ruby Amethyst are. And this is how aggressive Emerald decks can be, preying on those decks that want to draw a lot of cards. I think like this is the contrast. Just I'm not going to try to rant anymore on this, but like I've already talked about how Diablo is a problem card. I think a card like Clarabelle is well designed. I think a card like Diablo is poorly designed. In order to take advantage of your draw engine, the Clarabelle comes down and is like, okay, here's what it is. It comes down. I'm not gaining passive advantage every turn through a Diablo. It comes down, whatever the game state is, that's my advantage that I generate, and it costs more for me to get back into the game. Whereas Diablo, developing this on like turn 2 is just ridiculous, in my opinion. And then just being able to take advantage of your opponent's draw engine from there is just ridiculous. But you do have these different ways to kind of take advantage of the Ruby Amethyst matchup. But despite that, this deck still fell, it looks like, to Ruby Amethyst, I would assume. I mean, it would have to, right? Because was there a chance that this person faced... Oh, I guess there's a chance that this person faced the Ruby Sapphire deck, right? And then these two guys mirror matched. And then DKP beat this. And then these guys mirror matched, and one of them won and one of them lost. And then this was the finals. I'd be more inclined to think that Emerald Steel faced one of these Ruby Amethyst lists and the Ruby Amethyst beat it. But yeah, interesting list on the Emerald Steel side. We've got another DKP-oriented Ruby Sapphire list here. A little bit more traditional, it looks like, going with the Scars, the 3 Goofies, and still putting up good results. 3 Tamatoas, and just the 4 Popsicles. But, if you got the Ruby Sapphire cards, like, this is what you're defaulting to now. And that is actually Moyen, right? Coming in top 8 at BattleBear. So that's interesting to see. Shouldn't Artabax have been in this? Maybe not. Maybe they don't have his list up. Maybe he didn't make it that far. But I would assume he would have, because I think he's won this tournament before. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at the other Emerald Steel list. Again, you're seeing, similar to the video I posted before, like you're seeing Tinkerbells come back into the meta. This one, just the one of only 2 of the Pete, 4 Beast Tragic Heroes, still with the 4 Morphs, only the one drop in the Diablo, but we're also on the 3 Coves as a 1 drop as well. More traditional heavy discard package, right, with the Hypnotize, or heavier discard package with the Hypnotize. No heavy discard decks like Amber, Emerald coming up. I do want to take a look at a couple of these top 16 lists, though, because I think this is where we see some of the, I don't want to say off meta, but like some of the more interesting, innovative lists. I've always been a fan of Mufasa. Unfortunately, I think the Ruby Amber version, there's still a lot to be desired here. Like you can see, like just 1 of Card Soldiers and 4 Mulan. Odds you miss your 1 drop pretty high. Mulan is still a very vulnerable card. 4 Lumiere, 1 Queen of Hearts, 4 Mother Gothel, which you play obviously for the Rapunzel proc. The 3 Gaston, the 2 Rhea, can ready up the Gaston. And then a very robust top end package here. A decent 4 drop package with Super Goof, Prince Eric, getting the removal effect, questing for 2. Big Sisu with the small Sisu shift. 2 Maleficents and only 2 Brawls. 4 of the Stitch. This is a card that I think is very underrated, especially now that the strength-based removal of Ruby is suffering, right? With the whole strength reduction thing in Sapphire. I think Surfer Stitch and Amber is really, really good. There's like crazy combos too, like Emerald, Amber, Mufasa has an interesting interaction where they could potentially do something like play the Amber, Emerald, Tramp, and if they're playing Bippity Boppity Boo, right, they can play Emerald Amber Tramp for free and then sing Bippity Boppity Boo with something, bounce back the Emerald Tramp, because you filter, right, with the Emerald Amber Tramp. So you filter for a Stitch and then you Bippity Boppity Boo it back to hand and just play like anything. I mean, it could be a Stitch and then you draw like 2. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. I'm interesting to see where the Amber lists go from here, though. I think it needs more dual ink support, so hopefully we see that in future sets. But yeah, I really am a fan of Mufasa. I hope. I mean, do I hope? Because it can be very annoying to play again sometimes. But it's a good deck that I think hasn't had its time at like a tier 1 status yet, and I would like to see Mufasa get his time in the sun for that. We do have an Amber Steel song list here, so I would expect something pretty standard here. Robin Hood package. Yeah, I mean, top 16 in a pretty big tournament field is nothing to scoff at. I'm surprised there was no better performing Amber Steel song, but again, I keep saying this. The issue that this deck has, in my opinion, is that it loses to itself, not necessarily the player. But like bricking on all these uninkable songs can be quite an issue. Of course, this deck has a high payoff if it does combo, right? It's literally unbeatable, it feels like, when you play against it. The Amethyst Sapphire lists, what are they doing? Ooh, Myrtle, the 1/3. Diablo, Clarabelle. This is a very interesting list. 1 Peter Pan Shadow. And 1 of the Kronk. Yes, I talked to my friend about this, and I was like, am I coping with this Kronk? Like, if we expect discard to be huge in the meta. So for those of you that don't know, if you can't read this text, this Kronk has Ward. It's a 4/4 body that quests for 2, but you probably just stick it on the board. Again, you have to see it as a 1 of, so you probably don't want to play more copies. But if an effect will cause you to discard, you just don't discard. So I think there was a Magicka Dispel that also did this. It was a 4-cost inkable card, but it was like a 2/5, and it did not have Ward. This one, as a dual ink, does have Ward, so you can literally just slap this on the board, and in the mirror match, you don't have to discard anything, because there's no way for the mirror match to interact with this card. The only way that you could out this Kronk is like be prepared in the Ruby matchups or Kita Under the Sea to reduce its strength without targeting it, and then Under the Sea it under the deck. I myself was experimenting with a more mid-range Amethyst Sapphire list. Again, if you watch my videos, my deck list, I love mid-range. I don't like aggro too much. I love control, and I like mid-range. I love control. Control is number 1 for me, and then I like mid-range. And mid-range lists that run this Clarabelle Ursula, I thought was like really strong. This is like one of the strongest like higher end packages you could run in this deck, especially if you have the shift targets for it, which obviously, you have pretty good ones here. I mean, Clarabelle obviously went down in its applicability, but like sticking these on the board, man, like I've seen online matches where people have dropped this Ursula Sea Witch Queen and they just come back from impossible positions to win the game, because this thing is tapping stuff down whenever it quests. It's questing for 3. You're like, nobody can sing songs, right, except for this Ursula. Like, it's such an oppressive card. It's almost like a floodgate. I think this card has this is the only enchanted that I've actually spent money on as an example. That's how good I think this card is, and I think this card becomes significantly better if we get better Ursulas. We already have a really busted Ursula in Deceiver, the 2-drop, but if we do get more Ursulas, which I'm sure we will, this card, like, you saw what you see the logic that I applied to the Pete, right? The Emerald Steel Pete, the Duel Link. I'm like, the reason that card is so playable is because we have like a staple Pete. Everybody plays 4 of the Steel Pete, right? The 3-drop 3/3 games referee. If we get another similar Ursula that's a little bit closer to the 5 cost, like a 3 or 4 cost, where it's easier to connect the shift, I think this card in Amethyst just goes off in value. It's such a good card. Like, same with the Clarabelle. The Clarabelle stocks, in my opinion, are up. It's a solid card. A 5/6, very difficult to deal with. Yeah, it's just, these cards, the stats matter again, is what I could say, right? Now that the reducing of the strength with the Sapphire cards being so oppressive is out of the metagame, you're seeing things open up quite a bit. So yeah, it's really interesting. I like that list though. I love the mid-range lists. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. A couple of blurples. Were they all in top 16 there? Did I? No, top 128s. Okay, so we'll probably pass on those. This one is top 32. I would have liked to see a blurple make top 10. This one is on the Popsicle Bell. I've talked about why you may or may not want to play that package. 3 bells for a Popsicle. The odds you see the combo of cards in your opening 60, right? And in my opinion, from just simulating hands and stuff, not all that likely. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong though. I've even tried using the Retrosphere to increase the item count because Retrosphere might actually have some use as well. But this build is interesting, right? On 2 Spirit of Winter, on the Donald Duck as well. I'm not a huge fan of this, but really cool to see it teched in there as a spice option. 2 of the Queen, I love seeing the spicy tech. So GG Simon, congrats to you for having a good showing with a spicy list. 3 libraries, 3 bells, 9 1-drops, the Sail, the Tipo on 2, 2 Let It Goes, 3 Hades, and 2 of the Bell Accomplished Mystic to shift onto the Bell Apprentice. But of course, you can raw play this out as well. No Peter Pan Shadow. Instead, just banking on Genies and Elses to deal with Diablos. But as you can see, I mean, Diablo, not really all that prevalent. I guess you could say it was, but a decent spread overall at BattleBear, which I'm happy to see. So, in an effort to keep this video a reasonable length, I'm going to wrap this tournament up here. Do a second video maybe to take a look at some other events. Like this 2K is probably significant, but we don't have results. Oh, wait, did I click on the right thing? Yeah, but we don't have results for this yet. What else might have been? This other German tournament. Ooh, Mufasa taking first place. Let's go. What I just say? I want to see Mufasa have its time in the sun. We've got a 1K here. We've got a bigger turn. Oh, there we go. Steel Song winning. All right, let's go. A deck that I think a lot of people think is gonna make it to the top of the metagame, but Amber Steel in the finals for this event with 41 players in the States. Interesting. Aggro, wow. And Ruby Amethyst. Okay, anyways, yeah, we can't review this in this video. It's going to take forever. Let's wrap it up there. If you've enjoyed this video, guys, make sure you drop a like. Thank you again for watching. Quantum is out.